It's hard to know where to begin with this game. Just an incredible, shocking one for the ages for the Vancouver Canucks. And certainly it did not look like that's the way this game was headed late in the third period with Vancouver trailing 3-1. And I compare that to what happened in game 2 in Vancouver. The Canucks trailed 3-1 in the third, but they kept pushing. They did everything they possibly could to tilt the ice, to fire shots. I think everybody on both teams realized that Nashville was lucky to come out of game 2 with the victory, and it felt like that the other way here. With 8:30 to go in the third period, Nashville was out shooting Vancouver 10-1. There was simply no push from the Canucks, who at that point looked like they were content to go home with a split in Nashville, with the series tied at 2, with what was left to be a best of 3 with 2 of those games in Vancouver. But the line that has been consistent for the Canucks was not willing to give in. JT Miller and Brock Besser, along with Pia Suter, they stood up. And in the case of Miller, who led the team in shots in the last game, and Besser, who scored the eventual game-winning goal in the last game, and then a hat trick in this game, they just kept fighting. And Rick Tocchet at various times has challenged Besser to get on the inside, and he did that on those 2 goals in the third period. So gets one, and then Nashville almost seals the deal with an empty netter, but they don't. Canucks take advantage of the opportunity, and Besser was like a dog on a bone on that third goal because he redirects a shot just wide, gets after it, pulls it back in front, and scores. Besser attempted 12 shots in this game. 8 of them went on net. The Canucks only had 20 shots on net in this game. That included the overtime goal, but Besser was really doing everything he could to change the way he was playing in terms of how he was getting shots to the net. He did that. Miller was what Miller has been, and he has been the one consistent forward for this team all season, and certainly here in the 4 games of this playoff. So their best players were their best when it mattered the most, and that includes Quinn Hughes, because you know coming into this series that Nashville's focus was to do everything they could to get a body on this guy, with the thought that late in a series it was eventually going to take its toll. They weren't necessarily able to do that in games 1 and 2 in Vancouver. He was able to skate a little more freely and operate in his own end and through the neutral zone, but they got to him in game 3. They got to him in game 4. His ice time was down in game 3, and in game 4, after 2 periods, he was just over 12 minutes. The lowest, he and Philip Hronek, the lowest defenseman amongst the Canucks 6 that started this game. So you thought that he was feeling it. He got double teamed at one point behind his own net, went to the bench, spoke to trainers. You could tell he was in some pain, some discomfort. He missed a shift, but he came back out. And then when you talk about that Sissons play where he almost had the empty net goal, think of how he took the puck. There was a play on the wall, and Hughes made what I thought was kind of a soft play and gave the puck up. Unfortunately for him, he got a bit of a break when the post was hit, and then when he looked tired, when he looked like he had nothing left to give, Quinn Hughes finished the game with a 2-minute and 32-second shift, and he absolutely broke Gustav Nyquist's ankles, keeping the puck in at the blue line on the eventual game-tying goal. So again, your big players have to be your biggest, or your best have to be your best in this situation, and the Canucks had that. Now at the other end, how about their goaltender, Artur Shilovs, who was a surprise starter? Rick Tocchet said after the game that they kind of got the sense yesterday after practice, understand that he did take part, Casey DeSmith did, in all of practice. They said the injury was suffered late in game 3. Casey DeSmith wanted to play in this game, but the club decided to take a cautious approach. So the expectation at this point is that Casey DeSmith will be able to go in game 5 back in Vancouver as the Canucks try to close out the series. As for Shilovs, Canucks get the early lead. He gives up a goal that kind of got through him. It was deflected a little bit. Not much chance in the second or third goals. The third, of course, was deflected in Rick Tocchet by a skate, and Rick Tocchet said it was the right call, and it was based on the current rules regarding that situation. The player didn't lift his skate up and have a distinct kicking motion. Certainly, he intentionally angled the puck into the net, but that's allowed right now. Tocchet didn't complain about it. He wasn't in a position to challenge it, so they moved forward. It happened early in the third period. You thought that was going to be it for the Canucks the way things were going, but again, once they pulled the goalie, it seemed like a different team in the final 2:47. So Vancouver comes home with a 3-1 series lead and a chance to end this on Tuesday in Vancouver. The Canucks, what's been one of their best lines has been the Lindholm, Garland, Joshua line. They were really, really quiet in this game, and the Canucks needed a spark. Obviously, they gave it to them in overtime, but that line has been very good up until the first 60 minutes of this game. You have to think they're going to be able to carry that over. They were so important for this team in game 1, and when it mattered, they were able to get the goal. Dakota Joshua doing the heavy lifting, Connor Garland with the pass, and then Elias Lindholm finds the top corner. And look, this guy has been what this team needed when they acquired him in the playoffs. He maybe wasn't that guy during the regular season, especially before he missed 7 games with a wrist injury, but they acquired him for this time of year, and he's delivering. Not only did he score the game-winning goal, he was 15 of 20 in the face-off circle. So Lindholm doing it at both ends of the ice, also doing it in the circle. And again, the Canucks will take what they gave up as if this is the performance they're going to get, and if they wind up advancing and getting on a bit of a run here in the playoffs. So once again, Vancouver finds a way. It was not easy. It was not expected. 4-3 was the final score. Vancouver wins. They take both games in Nashville and go home with a chance to close out the Predators.